Yesterday we spoke about the compassion that we should have. We're going to continue with that thought on our divine soul that's a part of God. Everything in creation is merely a letter comparable to God. As a letter is comparable to us, a word is incomparable to us. Likewise, or even infinitely more so, is the act of God in creation. Relative to him, it's nothing. What does that mean? It means it sounds like this is really valuable, this is really important. But our soul, that's a part of God, is invaluable. For that we should have compassion. That we should have compassion. That's an interesting idea. The Alter Rebbe doesn't explain this here, but I'd like to, you know what, I'll share it afterwards. In my thoughts. Okay, so hence, we should have compassion on our lofty soul that's a part of God and has come into human condition, which itself is very limiting, and all the more so when we kind of fall off the wagon and we hamper, or we actually stain the soul. That was the basic idea. Now the Alter Rebbe goes in a different direction and come back and tie things together. And that is, it's known that there are two types of love of God. Two types of love of God. The first one is born out of our understanding, our appreciation of the greatness of God, our relationship to God. And that brings, the more we understand, the more it brings to a profound, deep love for God and awe of him. But then there is a type that's beyond that. It's a gift. We can't get there. What does that mean? Why can't we get there? It's because it's too lofty for us. It's granted as a gift. This is the idea that God grants the Kohanim, the priests, gifts. Such a lofty endeavor, or lofty connection, that has to be gifted from above. The attribute of love. Likewise, the concept of awe. It's gifted from above. There's no comparison between the two. That which is we can accomplish on our own, the love of God, and that which is gifted from above. That's why the Alter Rebbe says this love and awe is referred to as truth. This is true love. What does it mean it's true love? Because it's gifted from God, and God, the seal of God, is truth. God is truth, and in relation to him, all truth, human truth, is nothing. Right? Human truth is nothing. Meaning, the human truth that I can come to understand, appreciate, be aware of the greatness of God, my connection to God, God as creator, the part of God within me, is nothing compared to the truth of God, which is absolute. Ours is relative, his is absolute. So, if it's something that is God's truth, is his true love that he bestows upon us, that is gifted from above, it's something that I can't achieve, how do I get it? how can I get this? So he says, we get it by arousing the compassion of God over the spark of our soul, which was, if you recall, the attribute of Yaakov, the attribute of Jacob. That even if I may sit in a dark place, having compassion over that place where I am will elicit God's great compassion from above, and then I will be able to get this greater love, form of love, which we didn't define. The Alter Rebbe doesn't define really so much here, but we'll try to explain that a bit later. So the question is, how do you get, excuse me, Rina, I think go upstairs to find, okay? Yeah, I think so. So, sorry. So to gain this compassion that God should give us something. What's compassion? Compassion is something you don't really deserve, but I'm giving it to you anyways. That's what compassion is. It's not coming to you. It's not something owed to you. It's a gift from above. That's right, from God. That you can have this experience, this connection to God in such a lofty manner. So how can you get it? How can you achieve this? Is by you having compassion down here. Complete compassion by reviving those of lowly spirit, by being charitable. That arouses from here, God Almighty, that we were compassionate down here, that He will have compassion upon us, and He will illuminate us with the truth of God in this world, which will be bestowed upon me a real love of God, or an absolute one, I guess. I don't know, real, because the other ones, I mean, comparable to the human one, this is real. And the Alter Rebbe then continues and says that this is the meaning of what it means sowing not with an E but with an O, when you plant a seed, related to charity. In other words, when you sow a seed in the ground, will sprout up, will reveal that which was hidden previously. So likewise, truth is something that was hidden and is revealed, and is revealed in the act of charity. It's called sowing because it reveals that which was previously hidden. What was hidden? God's truth. Where's it hidden? In the ground. That's what it means. Truth, in other words, truth, what does it mean? Truth is God's truth is here. It's just hidden, concealed from us, just like the ground has the power of vegetation, of growing something, revealing. So it's revealing God's truth. By the way, the metaphor is beautiful. The Alter Rebbe doesn't say this here, but the metaphor is, just like a seed rots and grows into something, fruit-bearing tree, for example. That's the power of something from nothing, ex nihilo, creation, something from nothing. The best example of it is this seed that decomposes, becomes nothing, and then sprouts into a tree. So that's revealing God's truth. What's God's truth? The power of something from nothing. Here he's explaining, revealing that which was previously hidden, revealed, God's truth. How? by being charitable. That's what charity does. It reveals God's truth, meaning that truth will now be something that I will have that illumination of godliness in my life. Now, the Untitled continues, says, this is particular when it comes to the land of Israel, being charitable to causes in the land of Israel. Why? Because truth shall sprout forth from the land, a verse in Tehillim. Land refers to the Holy Land. It also refers to, as land is the lowest level on earth, right? The lowest physically. We stand on the land, right? It's the lowest thing. So likewise, Malchus of Atzilus is the lowest of the 10 attributes. It's the lowest. So in other words, we're talking about sowing charity. Charity is the lowest thing. I mean, land is the lowest thing where you sow. You reveal God's truth. And where are you going to reveal that God's truth of charity? Specifically in sowing in the land of Israel, meaning giving there. And the kindness and great compassion will then bring supreme grace and to reveal that which is hidden. God's kindness that will be revealed, and therefore will establish the land, which again means the land of Israel, but it means also the land in heaven. What's the land in heaven? Again, Malchus, the sphere of Malchus, which is also, the sphere of Malchus is the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God, and it's also the place of the congregation of the souls of the Jewish people. That's where they are sort of, they're rooted in, and we are united there as one. So it'll bring, to firmly establish all the souls of Israel in the practice of giving to those who are in need. And that will, that by we reviving in compassion to those in need, that will then reciprocate, arouse from heaven a compassion upon us to give us, to our soul. What's it going to give our soul? Something that we couldn't get on our own. And that is this lofty level of love and awe of God that is a gift from above. That's the teachings. Let's unpack it a bit. Let's make it... I didn't add too much to what was here. I'm going to add a little more to give us a little more appreciation. Like, what's the difference between love that is human and one that's gifted from God? What's the difference? Well, human love is using your mind to appreciate somebody. When you appreciate somebody, and that feeds your heart to bring you to love them. The more you appreciate them, the more you think they're wonderful, the more you know how great they are, the more you're going to love them, the more you're going to have respect for them and awe for them. Makes sense? And that's the way we conduct ourselves, with such a love, such an awe and respect to others, are based on humanness. And rightfully so, there is that aspect. But then there's something that is much greater than that, that's gifted from above, and we really can't get there on our own. And that is, and he doesn't use the words over here, but elsewhere, because what does it mean, a gift? It means that we have this connection. I would suggest to be in a way to say, not based on anything. No thing. We've repeated this idea many times, and it comes at so many different angles and so many different ways. Right? In other words, the first kind of love is based on something. right? Based on my understanding, my appreciation of the greatness of God, right? In a relationship, that would be my appreciation of how great you are. And that will produce a love, respect, and awe. The second one is that it's not based on something. It's based on no thing at all. No thing. How am I going to love you then? How am I going to love you? Well, on what? On what basis? On nothing. On nothing at all. Just on the fact of there is an inherent connection. So with God, it's having compassion on the peace of God that I have in me. Well, if I have that love of a piece of God in me, then wow, okay, then that will lead me to have and it's the preparatory to being able to have a love and awe of God that's gifted. Meaning, it's for nothing. It's not for the something. I mean, something meaning here consequential. When we say something, I mean, like, oh, you're so smart, I love you. You're so, positive, I love you. Right? Those are qualities that I appreciate and I understand, I'm aware of, and that leads me to love you. You're so kind, I love you. So it's the kindness, it's the the brilliance of mind, it's the that results or the consequence of that is the love. But here it's not the mind that is feeding the heart. It is the very fact that, well, there's an awareness. Of course, there's always a mind, but there has to be an awareness. But there is this gift from above that I am inherently connected to God, a piece of Him within me. And when I appreciate that and have compassion over that, but the kicker over here is that that's not enough. Because the Alta that I've introduced today, that what do I need to have further compassion? Isn't another. To have compassion on that part of me will not be able to get me the gift of this love that is just inherent love, gifted from above, not because of great understanding and appreciation of the greatness of God. But I have to have compassion in another. It's not enough that I have compassion over my soul that is a part of God, but I have to have compassion over another that is in need and to be there for them. That will arouse God's compassion to illuminate my soul with this love that's a true love. And then as he explains, because charity is like is sowing, is putting a seed in the ground and emerging something that was that was hidden. Meaning the truth and the power of God is in Mother Earth. But you got to put the seed in there in order that it should arouse that power of Mother Earth, that it's going to now sprout into something. So we have to sow charity. We have to give in order that it will reveal that truth of God. And what's that truth? This love that is bound up with our souls. And it will be revealed to us as a result. That's a very powerful idea. So truth comes out So truth is something beyond me. I'm not the bearer of truth. I have to be gifted the truth. I'm given truth. I'm not truth. I may say something truthful, but when you hear the truth, what's the response when you hear the truth? Well, Moshe Rabbeinu saw the truth of God in the burning bush, and he bows. You submit to the truth. It's not something you can get. It's given. What you have to do is put yourself aside. Then you can get the truth. How do you put yourself aside over here? Well, having compassion on another, by giving, by being charitable. That makes you then the recipient, makes us the recipient, the vehicle or the vessel that truth can be given to us. We give to someone who is empty, not because we're full, but we have compassion over ourselves, and therefore we can have compassion over our neshama, so we can have compassion over another, and therefore be giving to revive that soul. So God revives our soul with the truth of His love. That is something that all I can do is be a recipient of. It's not like, it's not something, like to feel and experience it. That's about me. I'm into the experience. That's something. You want the experience of love. That's not what, that's, do you love me? Yes, I love you, right? As Fiddler on the Roof. Do I feel, do I experience, I have the romantic sense of love? That's to experience it. That's to feel it. This is something much more powerful, much more, that's human, that's not truth. It is a truth that you're there for another, reviving their soul. God revives us with a love that's His truth. And what is that? Just being connected, just being bound up in one. Not because I appreciate something about God, just because I have a part of God in me. And that will be revealed and sensed that there's just a oneness. I hope that was clear. Now, second point over here is that the what's the word I'm looking for? The connection. We're saying that everything in creation is nothing before God. Just like one word to me is incomparable to who I am. One word. So, a tree is nothing. Yet, compared to the soul that we have, that's a part of God. Yet, at the same time, a person is considered an olam maleh, a complete world. Everything that's in the world is a part of me. So in other words, I have the inanimate, the vegetation, an animal that's a part of me. And that's why there's ultimately great sensitivity that we need to have to animal, vegetation, inanimate, to everything in the world. And that's why there's proper guidelines on how to deal with everything within the world, right? Not to bring undue pain to an animal, Tsar Balei Chaim. Not to deal with vegetation in a to waste, right? Not to waste food or to waste of something. not because of the inherent value it has, but it's more through the individual, because we are a complete universe. So it's all reflected in me. And therefore, if I'm really connected with my soul, I'll have a sensitivity to the other elements of creation in the appropriate manner and deal with it in a wholesome, healthy, ultimately holy manner. Even when it comes to the most minor of things, those things, right, in our lives become a vehicle to express the holiness through my soul, engaging in it. So that's something else also that's an important point that comes out over here. All right. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Some heavy duty stuff over here as usual. Let me see. Michael has a question. Okay, let's get to Michael's question. Michael, a friend was charitable to me this morning. I can only reciprocate in kindness for now, but I can and will pass along the gift in many directions. I'm not sure how I should feel. I want to stay connected. Well, if your friend was charitable, then appreciate your friend first and foremost, right? And so I'm not. I can and will pass along the gift in many directions. How should you feel when you're gifted something? Acknowledge and help through, acknowledge the goodness of the person that gave and be thankful. Be thankful to the person, be thankful to God. And like you said, use it out in the best way that you can. That, will bring some value and meaning to it. I hope that's clear. Okay. Should in a healthy, good way, use it. All right. Then we have from Batya, Vilma, Eliana, Michael, Jeffrey. Anything that you have to share? All right. So I think that's it then. Wow. 1 second. Deanna, I know now how powerful giving back, when given, is that it can be a direct expression of thanks to Hashem. Very good, thank you. Who else has I know now that? Liba, I know now that there are two types of love. One, human love, and based on something, and the other being based only through our inherent connection to God. This love and awe of God is absolute truth, as it comes from God. Through having compassion and giving tzedakah, we arouse His gift of His love and compassion from above. Beautiful. Very, very nicely said. Thank you. Anybody else I know now? Anna, I know now that beyond us there is an infinite divine truth, kindness, and love, uncomparable to anything that we can express them by being charitable. Very good. Excellent. Oh, Sarah, if you're charitable to a Jewish organization in the U.S., is it better to give instead of an organization in Israel? That's an excellent question. So, Sarah's asking an excellent question. So, in the laws of charity, we have a responsibility, first and foremost, to, of course, believe it or not, to extended family, right? That we have, besides your own literal nuclear family, right, which you're responsible for, but that's not being charitable. But beyond that, to give to extended family, then that would be the first thing that we'd have a responsibility. Then your Jewish community, if you're part of a community, and there are needs in those communities, so that community would be the next level that you're responsible. Then after that would be the greater Jewish community, all right, that, like in Montreal, there's the Chabad Zichrim Kedoshim community, for example, but then there's a greater Montreal community. So that would come after. Then you would be, and that's before giving to those, to the organizations or those in need from another community, like me in Montreal giving to Toronto or to New York, or So I would have first responsibility here. That doesn't mean you don't have responsibility elsewhere, but also then you have a responsibility to give in the Holy Land. In the Holy Land also to give. So that's the part of the hierarchy, shall we say, in giving. Okay. So thank you, Sarah, for that question. To bring clarification. Okay. I'm trying to see, is there anything else here? Yeah, the Alter Rebbe, just to give context to this, was collecting for families very poor and destitute in the Holy Land of Israel. As a matter of fact, that's one of the trumped-up charges against him that led to him being imprisoned by the Tsar of Russia. And he was sending money to the Ottoman Empire, the foes of the Russians at the time. And the Ottoman Empire was in control of the Holy Land. So, that was kind of how it became trumped up charges. He was sending money to the Ottoman Empire, not to the foes of the Tsar of Russia, but to fellow Jews who were in dire, desperate need of help. And he felt responsible. He had one of his teachers, Mendel Haradoker, who had his Hasidim there, and he took upon himself to take care of their needs as best as, so he was collecting for those particular needs. But even though he doesn't mention that here, in other letters he does, but here he's mentioning it in connection to truth. The Holy Land is, where truth is in the ground, right? What does it mean truth is in the ground? The ground conceals an amazing power of the Creator, right? Put a seed in it. Look what comes out of it. Something out of nothing, metaphorically. The power of God. So that's God, God's truth. So that's the concept of ground, earth. Where is that truly reflected? What earth? Well, the land of Israel, as it is reflection of earth, land, in the heaven land. What's a heavenly land? Is Malchus Vatzilus, being it's the 10th of the divine attributes. So it's the lowest, it's the land. It's what reveals, right, the Word of God. So that's how the connection made. and to giving to the land. All right. Davida, does the stranger, orphan, and the widow take priority over for charity? I mean, if they're in need, just because they're a stranger, orphan, and a widow doesn't mean they're in need. You can have people who are in much greater need. You can have a widow who's wealthy. What it means when we speak about the stranger, orphan, and the widow, it means those people that are the most vulnerable. So it's just an example of those in society. Orphan is more vulnerable. They don't have parents to take care of them. A widow doesn't have her husband, makes her more vulnerable. So it could be, it means more needs, material needs, but it also means that they are more vulnerable and we have to be much more sensitive towards them. If it means in being more charitable, then yes, but it's really those who are in need in society, they are just more likely to be needy, but not necessarily so. Okay, folks. Beautiful. Thank you as always. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day.